Hello, and welcome to another episode of Min's Minute Mates podcast. All those words in some other order. So, as you can see, first we were one, then two, and now we have three. So, a big hello to Eoin. Hey, Eoin.
Hey guys, nice to see you.
And welcome back, Satya and Mo.
Hello.
Hey.
Okay, so time is ticking. So let's crack on. So let's start off with what's been going on in the news of AI and tech, because it's going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And it's quite early, so I've got my big cup of tea because we're going to go quite geeky now. And we're going to talk about a topic, to be honest, I confess that I don't really understand that much. And so we'll unravel a little bit on that. And Mo, it was something we were chatting about, quantum computers, and there's some breakthrough that Oxford University made recently. Take it away.
Yeah, it's exciting times. Quantum computing, it's one of those on the same level, I would say, as AI progressing in the tech world. And yeah, it's exciting, isn't it? So teleportation, hey? Are we gonna teleport ourselves? You know, something interesting I read a while back, not sure if it's gonna be true, but some companies are actually even looking at your DNA as data and passing that through quantum computing and passing it through different streams. So,
and what does that mean? What have they been teleporting? Have they been teleporting?
Yeah, so I did read the paper that Mo shared this morning about the teleportation and was curious to know what exactly made this paper stand out. So one thing was quantum computing as such was thought of as one big machine that would do all the processing. However, with this research, they can now try make modules. So something that we saw even in software and even in other areas wherein you collect modules together and they will perform the same higher function than one big machine. So these machines can be far off. For example, just in maybe my own hypothesis here is you can have these modules across the world, but they will still act as one machine. So the transportation or teleportation comes here, wherein one can talk. So imagine you're playing chess. More you have one step, and then automatically Min already knows what that step is without having to talk to each other. So all the parts move together. So this is the idea behind teleportation or quantum moduling, or the modules behind it. There's something also called DQC, which is like more in-depth physics behind it. And at the same time, it's, as Mo said, right, it is moving as fast as what AI news or AI world is, because we are also reaching the peaks of technology, how much technology can support the AI revolution per se. So this is what excited me about the paper.
Brilliant. I know in that experiment they managed to sort of jump it like 6 feet or something between the computers, but yeah, ultimately, like you said, they could be at the other ends of the world and still kind of have that technology. So in terms of what that means, obviously we'll all need to change our passwords, right? Because they'll be able to crack them in like a millisecond now, but that's all good. So let's move on from that to another topic that we saw this week. And I must confess, I'm like a super early adopter. If a gadget comes out, it's like, yes, I need to have that in my life. Just behind me, I don't know if you can see, I have like the best gadget ever, my robot lawnmower. When that came out, I was like, yes. Even though like we're fortunate enough to have a gardener who comes every 2 weeks, it's like, gardener, leave that grass, the robot's going to cut that. So very exciting. And so AI Humane pin thing is moving on to a new buyer. When that first came out and they did that demo, I was like, yes, I need one of those. And then I saw MKHD's review and I'm like, no, I don't think I need that one. It was a little bit sort of smoke and mirrors. And it's been bought up by HP, as I understand. Yes. What's anyone's views on that technology and potentially where that can go, and also Humane and what they got right and wrong?
From my side, I think like it was a semi-fail. Like it was quite a disappointing gadget what they created, but from our perspective, it might have been a failure, and now they got bought out, right? So that is something with startups. One thing though, I'm seeing a pattern of even semi-failing startups with their first iterations of products are actually still valuable And as you can see, this is a good example of them being acquired by HP. So in my head, if you are anything related to AI and creating some good use case and taking it out there and making it half work, you can make some good bucks.
It's more like a puzzle of someone else, right? Like maybe HP has a use case that it's not public, we do not know of, but maybe Humane have solved that in some capacity, and the acquiring was the easiest for them.
Although, like at one point when it first came out, it was like literally going to, it was worth like billions, right? Because it's some sort of Star Trek type device, and it's sold for 100 million plus whatever. So, but then again, it's like better than just going under, I guess. And as you say, Mo, if they can reuse the bits they did and make the next version, then I guess that's good for everyone.
I hated that thing the minute it came out. I was like, that is definitely not going to work.
Is that with the camera thing and just like looking out?
Yeah, and there was a few sort of Me Too's came out around the same or like similar time frame, like friend.com.
Yeah.
It's like to have an AI companion that's sort of listening to every conversation and taking in the world around you and helping you sort of grok the world around you to understand and predict and control and all that. And I think that whilst, I think as a first iteration, it was very good, but just not what would be adopted by the masses, because they were interfacing with this AI through audio, which isn't necessarily the best way to do that.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you really need a screen. 20 years time when you're looking a lens or you're some kind of augmented reality, sometimes it's just going to be easier to pick up a phone. You want to browse, like
and your hand like this, right? Yeah, with that little screen, you have to use your hand.
Yeah. So, and like there is that point Elon Musk made about like all the data that the big models are trained on right now has existed for a long time. It's like it's a fairly finite amount of data. So what's actually happening with this evolution is that the models it's just improving how we interact with that information. So we're already sort of augment, like our smartphone has all the world's information, but we have to take it in by looking at a screen or interacting with it that way. And so it's like the adoption of these technologies has to do with a bandwidth issue between the device or the data and our brain. And so like Humane was like a step along the way to having this really high bandwidth connection between like the device and our brain. And ultimately I think it's going to end up with a Neuralink type thing where you're not wearing a device, you're just connected to the internet.
Has anyone signed up for that little experiment? Would you in the future, where you are one with the internet?
I would. Yeah. Like read only access on my brain. It could read my thoughts, but not like right into my brain. That would be a disaster.
Yeah, there was that thing they did. I think it was in Denmark where they had this experiment. Quite loads of people signed up for it, where you could have the NFC chip, inserted just underneath your skin, and then you could use that to verify your identity, pay for your biscuits and whatever. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. Saves getting the wallet out. But then I'm sure this is a favorite topic of yours in terms of sort of risk and ethics and all of that stuff, right? Like you said, you wanted it. Read only is cool, but don't write back. But who knows really where that goes? Yeah,
it's really hard to talk about these things without getting into the ethics of it. Like, what's right. Like in one sense, what we have now and like what's coming gives us like just extraordinary powers like humans, to sort of edit genes where, maybe even like print matter in time, like so we can like build humans or build like worlds or like
just perfect human beings. But is that really the way to go? I've seen that movie, it didn't work out well, and they went into some beautiful little amazing paradise place that they built in space.
When you start to think about like the ability to do those things, the questions around like is that the right thing to do comes up, and those are really hard questions to answer. Like, should we remove all disease so there's no more suffering from physical disease? Like on the surface it sounds like, yeah, let's do that, like this. But then like suffering has existed like since the birth of time, or at least the birth of like life, and it's like part of this evolutionary process, so like we're like these incredibly sophisticated, beings that sit at the top of the food chain or near the top, because we've gone through all this adversity, like through generations. So if you were to remove suffering and adversity, like that wouldn't be good for our survival, So
yeah,
some of these questions are hard to answer. I find them anyway.
yeah. I'm the world's biggest fan of The Matrix, and again, they made that perfect world, and it didn't work out well, did they? So they had to kind of get Mr. Smith involved. So let's move it to one more thing that was in the news. Actually, I think on Monday they released the latest version of Grok 3. Now, this was quite interesting because Mr. Elon Musk, who we talk about, I think every week, because there's always something going on. With this version, he said it's going to be the most powerful version of AI. And when I was looking at the detail, one of the things they've done is they've removed a lot of those guardrails. So it's basically knock yourself out. You can, before there was this thing like you can't use, celebrities' images and, to protect on deepfake. And this is basically connected to X, right? And all the stuff that people write about that, and it's all trained on that. So God knows what sort of output's going to come out. But any thoughts from anyone as to Grok? Has anyone been looking into that, and thoughts on? Okay, it's a different model, and it's different to what all the others are doing, particularly around sort of safety and risk. But yeah, keen to hear your thoughts if you have any on what's happening there.
Well, I'll go just because it was, I started to use it this morning. It was just released here this morning, and I'll say that I understand that it's like way more powerful and like it's like really big and impressive. But for the stuff I've used it for so far, it's like I'm just asking it questions. So I guess you need time with it to figure that out. But I think the general move towards less censorship and removing guardrails is coming from a sort of shift in the culture, that was largely started by Elon Musk and, this sort of Silicon Valley elite, and now the political elite, I guess Trump, it's like they've swung the other way towards the original values of the US, freedom of speech and all that stuff. And so that it's really important to those guys that, speech is not censored. And I don't know if I think broadly it's a really good thing that we can just talk about everything and be really open. But there's a point at which it can be pretty harmful, So I don't know. What my view is that maybe we'll find that the pendulum might swing a little too far towards free speech and no guardrails, and that causes some problems. And then it kind of the culture and the AI models and algorithms sort of correct and bring us back to a bit more moderate. But that seems to be what's happening now. And I don't know if 100% free speech, no censorship, no guardrails is a good thing.
Satya, do you have a view?
I was looking at everything transparent about what these tools can do. And my opinion here is that now other models will start to compete to have the same openness to create like what Grok 3 is trying to do. Maybe other LLM models and other tools will also start to create and start to use that information for having maybe more deep fakes and maybe creating more images or more kind of information that you can no longer differentiate which one is human generated, which one is AI generated, and which loop are we in. So that's something that's I think we'll go towards that. I even sometimes question what I read, like, is it something that is really coming out of the machines or human is involved, or what kind of filters have it gone through? And I think we'll be more and more towards a different world, maybe like a parallel world, like there's AI and there's a human. You can no longer differentiate what is what.
Yeah, we're getting very close, right? Particularly when you get all the where you can generate videos just from some text and things, right? And they're getting super smart in terms of keeping that character the same throughout all the scenes and stuff. And their hands and look quite normal now.
How? I don't know.
Other than those weird ones they started off with. So it's only getting better and better. Last word, Mo, anything to add?
I feel with AI, like in the long term, maybe authenticity is starting to get killed. So that's something we need to be wary of. If it's a good thing, bad thing, that's a question we need to answer ourselves. That is what's happening. And on that topic of censorship, DeepSeek is getting banned as well, I think, on many app stores, because I heard that they sold their data to their parent company, ByteDance. But yeah, they say they did that, so it's starting to get off on that side with sharing the data and stuff. So that's it on my side.
Sometimes I wonder what data do they don't have. I mean, I think it doesn't matter which tool you're talking about. We are talking through Google Meet now, and Google knows what we're talking. So it's only a matter of time where we draw lines and which countries will draw line where. I think that's to be seen.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for a lovely discussion there, and I'll see you all again next week.
See you.
Cheers, everyone.
Thank you. See you, everyone.